What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sinister-Cast, a podcast where I talk about music, my channel, and things going on in my life. So if you're new, consider subscribing, and if you are subscribed or new, hit that bell notification icon so that you can get notified whenever I put videos out, because lately, YouTube's been kind of slacking in putting my videos out to you guys. And a couple things before I begin with the main topic of this week's episode. Go back, hit my pop filter, go back and look at my video. I think I said for passing 400 subscribers. That's what it's called. For passing 400 subscribers. Go to that, watch that, and leave questions for me so I can make a Q&A. Most of you guys wanted me to do a Q&A to celebrate passing the 400 subscriber milestone, and I want to get to it soon. But because YouTube hasn't been notifying you guys about videos and stuff when they're coming out, you guys don't see that, you haven't seen it, and the usual people who are pretty active on my channel haven't seen it yet and haven't left their questions and stuff like that. So if you haven't seen that already, go back. I could put a card up as well, and go leave your questions for a Q&A and get those in so that I can make the Q&A to celebrate 400 subscribers, because that's what people wanted. So yeah, and another thing, if you haven't already, go check out the video I released yesterday titled Area 51. It's an original metal instrumental song that I came up with and threw together yesterday in light of the Area 51 event thing going on yesterday in Nevada. I was a little bit inspired, wanted to make something kind of cool called Area 51, and yeah, so if you haven't seen that yet, definitely go check it out. I think it's pretty kick-ass for a short little metal instrumental. And it's original, so bam, there you go. Some original music from me. And let me think. Is there anything else that I want to update and get you guys on? Not that I can think of. So, on to the main topic of this week's episode. I asked you guys in a previous Sinister-Cast to give me some questions that you would want me to explore in future Sinister-Casts. And that's what I'm doing now. So, the first one that I did was where would I be without guitar and without metal music? And I fully explored that in a bunch of different ways. And now I'm going to explore a question left, or a topic left by The Coke, one of my most loyal and active subscribers on the channel. And what he wrote is he wants to know what my thoughts are on new music and the music industry now. Well, there's a few ways to look at this. If you look at it from, I'm gonna break it up. All right. So there's the metal side of the music and music industry now, and the non-metal side of music and the music industry now. Let's touch on the non-metal stuff first. Okay. So my thoughts on the non-metal music and music industry now. I think it's very candied, very sugar-coated, very vanilla, kind of watered down. A lot of it's based on image, and I don't quite agree with that. Even though, a lot of culture is built on image, even metal, leather jackets, looking badass, sharp guitars, that kind of stuff. It's a look thing, it's an image, but it's not solely based on that. To me, the music industry now is kind of based on an image thing, and everybody wants to kind of become part of that image, and a lot of bigger companies who essentially create these new pop stars and stuff like that, they kind of follow this rule of image in order to fit a certain parameter to make a pop star. And I think that's wrong. Don't get me wrong, I like some pop music and some new music and stuff that comes out. Majority of it I don't, but there are some good ones out there. And still, the image thing is a big pet peeve of mine with the way the music industry is now. Not to mention the fact that I just really don't like a lot of new music anymore. New pop, anything like that, rap, any of that. I don't get it, and I don't get into it. Kaylee, on the other hand, she likes a lot more of that stuff than I do, but I can't get into it very much. So it's hard for me to really say. it's hard for me to touch on like my thoughts on the new music industry and new music because I don't really involve myself with it too much. I get a very limited view of the whole industry based on what's going on in social media and stuff like that. That's one thing. And then Kaylee. If it wasn't for her in social media, I would be completely isolated from the way new music is now. Um, so I can thank both of those for giving me some kind of idea, but I can't speak too much because I don't want to say the wrong thing or, look stupid because I don't really have a good understanding of the way it is now. I have very basic and fundamental principles of to me, what I think it should be, and whether the music industry and music now follows that or not. But I can't really go too in depth because I just don't have the information or the knowledge of newer music. So overall, in terms of the non-metal side of newer music and the newer music industry, I tend to veer away from it for a lot of reasons because it's not always about the music anymore. Like I said, there's a lot of image-based uh, tactics that are done in order to make pop stars and rap stars and stuff like that. There's a lot more than just the love of music that goes into it, and the music industry now tends to manufacture pop stars, and that's a really weird concept and a weird thing to think about, but it's not like discovering a band and then letting the band be who they are. It's like the music industry might find someone who has a good voice or something and has some potential. Well, then they take them under their wing and then they essentially manufacture a pop star. They give them an image and they tell them what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to sing about, what they're supposed to sound like and stuff like that. And they just create a pop star rather than letting a pop star grow. So that's kind of a big issue that I have with it. And that's probably the biggest issue other than the fact that I don't like the music that much. But the methodology of the music industry now is kind of backwards, I think. And it's a sad thing to see, but luckily that's not my realm or my world of music, so it doesn't affect me all too much. But yeah, there's a very few newer artists that I enjoy, and even then I don't enjoy their whole catalog of music. It's mostly just a handful of songs, so I kind of cherry pick from them. But I still can admit that there's some newer stuff, some newer stuff that I enjoy. But yeah, I can't speak much further than that because again, I don't have the knowledge or the information. But apparently I've got a lot of burps. Now, moving over to the metal side of newer music and the music industry now, it's, I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. I think there is that image aspect that still exists in it now because everybody wants to be a certain thing. And even in the metal world, that stuff kind of leaks into it. So I think there's still somewhat of an image thing. And it's not as strong or as prominent as like the pop culture type of stuff, but I think it still exists and it's still there. So don't think I'm completely hashing on the non-metal side because there are some similarities between them and the metal side. It's just a lot more diluted in the metal side. In terms of like the music that's coming out, the new metal music and stuff that's coming out, you guys have heard me talk about it. There's a lot of newer metal and stuff that I just don't enjoy too much, but every once in a while I do find a gem that I like. But the only reason why this is the case is because I grew up listening to old school metal. I wasn't into the newer stuff. My dad was a big influence on my musical taste, and it was a lot of old school stuff from 70s, 80s, and 90s. And like that was my repertoire of music for most of my childhood. So that's where my whole taste existed. I never got into the newer stuff, like mostly 2000s and beyond. So a lot of people who like Kill Switch and Engage and Drowning Pool and stuff like that, I never got into that stuff. Like even Five Finger Death Punch, who's still relatively new, I don't get into them that much. I think they might have a couple songs that I like, but overall, I don't think I like them that much because someone tried to label them as the new wave of thrash metal, and I just don't see that from what I've heard from them. To me, that's kind of a poser-ish thing to say because, like I said, I grew up listening to the old school metal, and a big focus was thrash metal, the Bay Area thrash metal scene. Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, Exodus, Testament, stuff like that. Well, Anthrax wasn't Bay Area, but still, that style, that thrash, you know, that was my meat and potatoes. And for a group to be labeled as the new wave of thrash when I don't really even think they're very thrashy, it's just kind of like a really one of those kind of moments. It's like really you're thrash, like really. So I guess I'm kind of jaded when it comes to that still, but there are new bands and stuff like that that I do like, okay? There's a band called Havoc, which I know some of you voiced your opinion you didn't like them that much, but to me they're relatively newer and they sound like an old school metal band, old school thrash metal band. So I like them. Dream Theater's still relatively kind of new, I guess. 90s, if you call that new. Late 80s, if anything. Um, let's see, who else? Periphery. I like Periphery, actually. They're relatively new. They're really cool, but that's like my progressive metal side. And but still, they're still new. And there's a lot of cool stuff that comes out and a lot of bad stuff. So it's hard for me to dictate one feeling or another towards the music industry because it's kind of mixed for me. It's really different now than it was 10, 20, 30 plus years ago because now you got people like me who write their own original metal music and stuff like that, and they have a platform like YouTube to get it out to the world. And now it's not so much that you need to go to a recording studio or anything. You can do a lot of it at home, which is like a lot of what I do. And you don't need to hire a crew to do a music video or anything like that because you can do a lot of it at home. And the way to get to that point in terms of buying equipment and stuff is a hell of a lot cheaper now than it was 10, 20, 30 plus years ago. It's a lot more affordable and a lot more accessible now to be able to make your own music and your own music videos and make videos in general and just make content to begin with. So there's that whole aspect that makes things very, very different because unplugged my mixer there for a second. Whoops. But yeah. What was I saying? What was it? Oh yeah, you don't have to be playing a bunch of shows out live and have some kind of record label person find you and try to sign you or anything like that. Like you can be in your room, record something to the best of your ability, put up a video with the music, and get discovered that way. So it's a really weird world now for the music industry, and it's not the same. So for a long time the music industry was pretty similar to where you knew if you became a band, you want to tour around, you want to get discovered, you get signed to a label, you record an album, and hopefully you keep doing that. Well, it's not so much the case anymore. Now it's people doing stuff at home like myself, and I can self-produce my own album if I really wanted to. I do that with a lot of songs. Eventually I'll have to compile a lot of my original stuff onto an album for you guys and sell it. And but it's just now you can do that. You don't need to get found by a record label or someone who knows someone from a record label or anything like that. You can get discovered doing videos, and even if it's not a huge production or even anything like what I do, where you record something and you shoot a video and you put it up and that. It doesn't even have to be that. It could literally be a video of yourself that you take on your phone or of your band on your phone. And I get a message from Facebook, but you could take a video or a recording on your phone of you or you and your band or whatever, put it up and get discovered that way. You don't even have to go into the whole home studio recording end of everything to get somewhere, because there are platforms and pathways now that exist that have never existed before, that give everybody somewhat of an equal opportunity to do something with their music. And it's a weird, really really weird industry now. Like I don't even know how many people try to go for record labels and stuff anymore. I know there's some, obviously people like Five Finger Death Punch and stuff like that do that because they're on the radio and, they get record deals and stuff like that. But it's a lot of people doing stuff at home. And a lot of what I listen to is people who do stuff at home or, at some other person's home studio, stuff like that. It's not the typical get signed to a record label, record an album kind of thing anymore and tour and stuff like that. It's not like that anymore. And on top of that, record labels and stuff have always been kind of vultures. They always try to, somehow take a percentage of the profits of, and screw the bands over, and there's been instances where people who made music and made albums 30 years ago are only just now within the last maybe 5 to 10 years making a profit off of their music, because when they got the deal to make their album and stuff like that, they made no money from it, just because the record labels would gouge them out and take everything that they made from it just so that they could make it. And it's just like that now, if not worse, because you get record labels who come through to try to do 360 deals and stuff with people, and it's basically where they take a large percentage of the selling of your music, whether it's in CD form, which probably most people don't do anymore because it's kind of dying, but even digital selling and stuff, they take a large percentage of the sales. They try to scrape off a percentage of ticket sales, which, if you didn't know, like I was talking about how people 30 years ago recorded albums and are only just now starting to make money from it. A big place and a main source of where a lot of bands made their money was from ticket sales. And now record labels and stuff are trying to scrape off the ticket sales too. And, there's probably a lot of susceptible people out there who get founded by a record label or something, and they get screwed over because they get trapped into one of these 360 deals or something, and they have no clue what it is. And then they're kind of screwed because basically it's the record label taking advantage of an artist and completely screwing them over, pretty much making like a 95-5 ratio of profits from record label to artist. And that's just me throwing an estimate out there. I don't even know for sure what it is. It could be less, but it could be more. And it's a scary thing because there's a lot of people who would probably fall for that kind of thing. A lot of people fall for scams and stuff like that all the time. To me, I think the whole record label situation now with the music industry is a scam. And, you can say whatever you want. It's kind of how it is. The record labels are super greedy, and they want to make all their money off of your talent. And I think that's wrong. It should be a situation where it's flipped. If the record label's trying to take 95% of the profits of anything you do with your music and you get 5%, it should be flipped around. It should be they get 5% maybe and you get 95%, because it's your music. Without you, they've got no talent, they've got nothing to sell. So why are they taking the majority of the profits, You're the talent, you're the one making the music, you're the one that, is the source of what they're able to sell and distribute and advertise for. Why the hell should they get the majority of everything? Without you, they don't have anything. Without them, you could just do everything fine. You could do it at home like I do. You don't need a record label. Record labels need artists to make their money. Artists don't need record labels to make their money. Because, like I said, you have YouTube and iTunes and Google Play and Amazon and all these different platforms that you can sell your music on. Literally. You don't even have to just post videos up on YouTube. You can sell your music too. iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, stuff like that. And there's distributors that you can go to that are fairly cheap that'll put your music on all of those for you, which I'm thinking about doing soon. And you could sell music from home. You sit here at home, you record your song and you record your music and you put a video out on YouTube and say, hey, this is my music, this is the video for it, or not a video, you don't have to have a video. But here you can go buy this song for $1 or $1.30 or something like that, $1.29 here on Amazon or iTunes or Google Play Music or whatever. And bam, you start making money that way. And I think different distributors take a different percentage of your sales and stuff like that. So I don't want to speak out and say anything about any of them specifically because I'm not sure. But I know there are some good deals out there in terms of distribution to get your music out there. And there's just no need for a record label anymore. That's the only thing. So that's that with record labels. And now in terms of the music, I think a big thing, like I've been saying for the last few minutes, is the home recording aspect of music. So back in the day, there was virtual instruments and, electronic music stuff that sounded okay, but you could tell it was super fake. But now, even I experience this because I use it. Drums, big thing. You can get these fake, quote-unquote fake drums that you can program through MIDI that sound pretty damn close to a real drummer. Now, obviously, there's some things that give it away, like velocity that's constant and all this other weird stuff. It's still not perfect, but it is a fuck ton better than what it used to be. And it's just super close to a drummer. So you could think about the music and music industry now. You could take someone like myself. Take me as an example, okay? I don't have a contract with a record label or anything like that. I don't go to a studio or anything to record stuff. I record everything at home. I do all the mixing and mastering and stuff myself. All the recording myself. I use MIDI drums to have a drummer, and I don't physically need an actual drummer to record anything. I can play bass parts, or heck, I can use MIDI for bass parts. Don't need a bass player. And I can sit there and use these tools and create an entire song or an entire album or what have you, or like my covers and stuff. And I don't need other people. It's just me. Literally just me. It's like a one-man band. I can do everything myself and have a song within hours, days, weeks, and it's all me. I did everything on it. So it's really weird, but it's also empowering because I'm sitting here hashing on it in the way it is, but if it wasn't for the way it is now, I wouldn't be doing YouTube and I wouldn't have music recorded or anything like that. It's having the ability to buy equipment for home and being able to record at home and do all this crazy stuff at home is very empowering because my dreams of being a rock star and stuff growing up, you could still kind of live that out. I don't have to worry about going to a recording studio and paying for that or anything. I can do everything at home. And I never thought that was a thing when I was growing up. It's changed a lot, in the last 10 years. So when I was first playing guitar about 10 years ago, I never thought that I would be able to do everything that I do here on YouTube and for music and stuff like that. I never thought I would be able to do anything like that. I mean, I was doing some simple recording stuff back then with a really shitty mic that I just kind of placed on my amp anywhere, and I was trying to record stuff. But I never thought that I would get to a point that I'm at now where I can literally choose to record an entire album at home by myself with only myself and distribute it through a distributor that's fairly cheap and sell that music on many, many, many platforms and have people buy it and discover it and grow that way. Like, I never thought that would be a thing, but it is a thing. And I'm not the only one that can do it. I know some of you guys make videos and record music and stuff like that. You can do it just as much as I can do it. And that's what I was talking about earlier. There's an equal opportunity to do this kind of thing. And now there is still somewhat of a paywall because nothing's free. You still have to buy the equipment and stuff, but there are plenty of ways to work around that. There's plenty of cheap equipment that you can get, albeit you're not going to get the same, results from super cheap stuff, but you are still able to do it. You can go buy a cheap $20, $30 microphone. You can go buy a cheap $20, $30 audio interface or mixer and get the cables for super cheap. Get a cheap guitar and maybe a cheap bass and literally plug it into your computer or your laptop. Have a free version of a DAW. Even if you wanted to go with Audacity, you could. I wouldn't recommend it for full recording, but you can use it. Or spend $60 for something like Cubase or like a dumbed down version of Cubase or Reaper or something like that, and you only spend less than probably $500, maybe $1,000, and you could start recording your own stuff, and then you slowly start building up your equipment, which is kind of what I've done. I have a lot of stuff that I can record with now for the most part, and that's only because I've collected stuff over time. I didn't just all of a sudden buy everything all at once. That's just, no, it's too expensive. That's not the way it works. I've accumulated a lot of stuff over time. And hopefully I'm going to accumulate more stuff in the future, but that's just kind of the way of the world now. Ease of access, equal opportunity, budget-friendly equipment. There's no excuse anymore not to record stuff. So, would I say the music industry is better or worse now? I wouldn't say it's either. It's different. It's changed. You don't need a lot of what the traditional essentials were for becoming a rock star and selling music. You could do pretty much everything at home now. So, the music industry is different. It's changed, but I like it. Because, like I said, it allows me to do what I do. So, I gotta have a soft spot for it. But in terms of the music coming out, could be hit or miss with me. Could be hit or miss. Now, I still discover newer bands all the time that I never knew about and that I like. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm hating on all new music, because there are new artists that put out new music that I do enjoy. It's just as an overall general statement, it's okay. And I'm sure some of you have different opinions, but like I said, I grew up in the old school world of heavy metal and stuff, so that's where my mind sits. I'm sure some of you are a little bit more ahead in the future in terms of the music and stuff, but that's the cool thing about life. You have different opinions, and, opinions are like assholes. Everybody, for the most part, has one, and they stink. So, it is what it is. Okay, I think I touched on everything for the most part. It was kind of a stream of consciousness type of talk, train of thought, just from one thing to another. But I think I touched on everything I had to say for the most part that I can do in 30 minutes. Well, if I missed anything, or if there are any more questions you have that I didn't answer in this Sinister-Cast, definitely let me know down in the comments. And like I'm going to continue on saying from Sinister-Casts now, if you have a question or a topic that you would like me to explore in future Sinister-Casts, type it down in the comments and let me know. I'll write it on a list, and I will get to it eventually in a future Sinister-Cast. And just a reminder, go leave questions on the 400 subscriber Q&A prompt video so that I can put a Q&A up together for you guys. I know you guys have questions. Ask them away, and I'll answer them, put them all down into a single Q&A video again, and happily answer all your questions. And secondly, check out my original song that I released yesterday titled Area 51, and let me know what you think of that. And with that, Like I always say, thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so that you can get notified when I put videos out or live stream or do anything on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay metal, my friends.